ES6 or ECMAScript 2015 was a major update to the JavaScript programming language that introduced significant features for writing modern and cleaner, more efficient code. In this video, we'll learn about map and set, two ES6 data structures that provide alternative to plain objects and arrays. If you used HashMap or HashSet in Java, these will feel familiar. ES6 introduced map and set to address limitation of objects and arrays. Map is a key value correction where keys can be any type, not just strings. Set is a collection that only stores unique values. Let's start by looking at maps. Let's create a map and add some entries to it. So let's take a look at this code. You can see that I use the new operator with map constructor to create a map. Then I can use the set operation, which takes a key value pair. And notice that the key could be anything. It's not just a string. The key could be a number. It could be a Boolean. And then when you want to get the values associated to any of the keys, you would use the get operator. The get will take the key and it will return the value associated to it back to you. Map also has a built-in size that tells you the number of pairs of key values that are stored in it. Let's look at some of the other helpful operations with maps. For example, how you can initialize them by passing particular arguments to the constructor. So this is very helpful. You can pass an array as a set of key value pairs to the constructor, and then it will create that mapping for you, and then you don't have to go and one by one call the set operation on the map. So here I'm basically entering 3 entries: the key name, the value Bob, the key age, the value 25, and the key city with the value of NYC for New York City. So let's run this code. Each inner array here is a key value pair. So this is, as I said, it's very convenient for creating arrays. Let's look at some of the map methods. We've already seen some, but there are more. So we've seen set and get. There is has, which looks up a key. Then there is delete that removes an entry, and then you have clear, which basically wipes the map clean. So here's an example of it. I create a map stored in a variable called the scores. And so this is a mapping between, let's say, a student and their scores. So I add 2 entries in this map. And then what I'm doing is checking if there is an entry for Alice. And then I'm checking if there is an entry for Charlie. And then I go and delete Bob. And if I check the size of it, there should be only Alice information remained in the map. Let's run this code and verify that it works as expected. So you might be wondering, okay, we have objects, now we have maps, how they compare and contrast. Here is a little comparison for us. You can use any key type with map, but when it comes to objects, you can only use strings and symbols. If you want to get the number of properties or pair of key values that you have in a map, you have the size operation. You don't have that in objects. Objects have default keys, which is not something that we're going to explore here. It has to do with the fact that objects in JavaScript are prototype based. We will look at this a bit on a chapter when we talk about object-oriented programming, but it's an old way of doing things, and I'm just going to show it to you for the sake of exposure. The order of elements in map is insertion order. With objects, well, it's mostly preserved, but it's not guaranteed. So you can look at this comparison and then make a decision when you want to use map and when you want to use object. Really, I believe the most important thing is just the first one. If you need to use keys other than a string, then you're going to go with map. Otherwise, just stick with objects. All right, let's move on to talk about sets. So sets are a collection of unique values. And so what that means is that if you enter the same value multiple times, it's not going to have any effect on it. You will just have one value stored in there. Let's take a look at an example. So you instantiate a set similar to how you do a map. You have the add operator that allows you to add values to the set. And as I said, if you add the same value multiple times, the add operation is just going to silently ignore it. So let's run this code and notice that even though I added 4 values, because 1 is a duplicate, the size of the set is 3. And then you have the has operation. Membership is an important operation for set. You want to know if something is a member of a set or not, and the has operation allows you to do that. So we talked about initializing maps using arrays. You can do something similar with sets. So notice that I can pass an array to a constructor of a set and it will construct a set for me. This is particularly commonplace if you have an array of values and you want to quickly remove all the duplicates from it. You just convert it to a set and it'll do that for you under the hood. We've seen some of the operations of the set. Let's take a look at some more. So you have add that allows you to insert values. You have has, which is the membership check. And then you have delete, which allows you to remove a value. And you also have clear, which helps you to completely clear the entire set. Here's an example of using these operation. So I'm adding a bunch of values here to the set, and then here I go and remove one of them, and you can see the size is affected as a result of that. So as I said earlier, one of the most common use cases of working with sets, at least what I've seen most people use it, is quickly remove duplicates from an array. So you can pass an array to a set, and then the good thing is that you can also then convert that set back to an array. So here's an example of it. Here's my numbers, there are a bunch of duplicates in it. I pass it to a set, and that will basically remove the duplicates, and then I have this array.from. Array is a built-in object in JavaScript, and it has some utility methods including from. And so you can give it another collection like a set, and it will convert that back to an array. So numbers given, unique numbers extracted. And that's a fairly common pattern to see. So again, you might be wondering when you should use set and when you should use arrays. So here's a quick comparison for you. The biggest issue is duplicates. So sets don't allow duplicates and arrays allow duplicates. Sets are basically hash tables under the hood. If you've taken a course on data structures, you know what this means. But one of the implications of it is that looking things up is very efficient under certain assumptions. So if you try to look up a value in a set, you can instantly find it. This is the meaning of this O1. I'm trying to not use the language that would assume you've taken data structures before, but this is a big O notation, and this means it's a constant time operation. This means that if you look something up in an array, which array has an operation called includes, it's equivalent to has, but there's a operational cost there. Every element, search for that value basically by looking up potentially all the elements. You can access the values in an array by indexing them. So array is a positional data structure. It means there's a notion of first element, second element, third element. Set is not like that. Set, it doesn't have access by index. You can iterate over the set. You can go over all of its values, but the key operation beyond insertion and delete is has, which is the notion of a membership. With sets, we're mostly concerned about whether this element is in a set or not. All right, so we've covered map and set. Map is useful for key value pairs with any key type. Set is useful for unique value connections. There are a lot more to these data structures that are built into Java in more recent, in JavaScript, in more recent versions of JavaScript. And we will explore some of the more interesting things that you can do with this in future lessons.